been beloved stories of boyhood and adventure? Rubbish. No offense, Mr. Twain, I'm not a big fan of your novels, but I am a big fan of what you've told us about how to live our lives. Twain said, "Do the thing you fear the most, and the death of fear is certain." Right? Once we do the thing that scares us, it's not so scary anymore. Like public speaking, once you join Toastmasters. You've probably heard this one before. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you're right. Exactly. And my personal favorite Mark Twain quote, "Give every day." Tonight I want to challenge you. I want you to ask yourself some tough questions. What dream is inside of you, Dora, that you've given up on? Is it an invention? Is it a novel? Is it a nonprofit? Cheryl, what unique talents and abilities do you have that you're not using anymore? Is it writing? Is it cooking? Is it painting? Is it teaching? And for everybody, what excuses are you making that's preventing you from pursuing your dreams and your talents? Let me translate that last one for you. What lies are you telling yourself that prevents you from reaching your full potential? Because that's what excuses are. They are lies that we tell ourselves, and we're the ones who lose out. What is one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves? I don't have enough time. There's an exercise I want to show you tonight. Now, I don't have 20 minutes, which this speech really would be more suitable for 20 minutes, but everybody, there's a stack of papers that look like this on your table. There should be 7 at each table, and there's even some in the back. This is an exercise to figure out how many hours per week you're leaving on the table. How many hours in a year that you're not using. And then how many years that stacks up to in a lifetime. Now, a real quick overview. I don't have time to walk you through every step of the worksheet, but I encourage you to take it home and fill it out. The first 2 pages of the worksheet, I'm sharing with you how I personally filled out the worksheet. There's 2 pages before that, after that, where the worksheet is in blank, and that's for you to fill out with how you spend your time, and you want to be super honest with yourself. And then I'll explain the rest in a moment. But just to give you an idea, this number at the top of the worksheet, 168, that's how many hours are in a week. We all have the same amount, but we don't all use them the same. Then I've divided into 5 categories, the most common ways that we use our time. For a lot of us, the first most common way is working and earning a living. And you'll see within that category, there's things like pure work time, work-related events. I spend a lot of time at work-related events. I don't have to go to them, but they help me move up in the legal community. They give me stature. They help me get new clients. I probably underestimated that number. There's continuing education. There's travel time to and from work. I'm lucky that it takes me less than 15 minutes to get to work and less than 15 minutes to get home. But when you add that up over 5 days, it's still 2.5 hours in the car. What are you doing during that time? And so on. And so my personal number of work time was about 68 hours. I subtracted that from 168. That leaves me with about 100 hours left in the week. That's still a lot. The second category is what I call being human. Things like sleeping, eating, exercising, doing chores around the house. And so that's going to take a big chunk out, especially the sleeping part. Then there's family obligations. For me, this was not a big category because I don't have children and I don't take care of an aging parent or a grandparent. But for some of you, this is going to be a huge amount of time, right? And then if you turn the page, you'll see that the 4th category is extracurricular activities. Now, I've listed all of mine, but in your blank sheet, it's all blanks except for the one that I know that y'all all spend time doing, which is Toastmasters. And then, of course, fun and quality time. And I've included items like spending quality time with a spouse or a significant other, spending quality time with your kids, other family members, and then, of course, socializing with your friends, dinner dates, parties, happy hours, and be really honest with yourself on where you spend your time. And I found that at the end of the week, I leave about 7 hours of time on the table. It doesn't sound like a lot. It's about an hour a day. But here's where the magic starts to happen. When you multiply that 6.5 hours in a week times 52 weeks in a year, well, now I've got 338 hours. What am I doing with that time? Am I doing something to advance myself in my career? Am I working on that painting I said I was going to finish? Or the 3 novels that I've been working on for like 2 years that I keep promising Brian I'm going to finish? Or maybe it's just that you need to be doing something like spending more time with your kids or just something that you get pure enjoyment out of. And so Then what happens is really neat. I've even included a line where you get to multiply the hours per year times your life expectancy. So in the back of the packet, I've actually included a mortality table. I am so sorry. This is the estate planning attorney in me, but the Social Security does put out a table that will tell you, based on your age today and your gender, approximately how many years on average you have left to live. Mine is 45. I would suggest that you add 10 years onto this number, and that's because, one, the census numbers that the Social Security Administration uses are old and outdated, and people are just living longer. So you always want to add 10 years. And when I did that on my sheet, 338 hours unused per year times 55 more years of living gives me 18,600 hours, which is equal to over 2 years of uninterrupted time. Those aren't even 2 years of regular days. Those are 2 years of 24-hour straight days. To me, that's incredible. I like 2 whole years of something I could achieve. What can you do in that time? That should be mind-blowing for you. And so when you go home and do this exercise, I want you to decide, once you know the time that you're working with, I want you to, first of all, stop making the excuse that you don't have enough time, because you do. We all have the same amount. It's how you use it. And of course, you can break these categories down into subcategories, right? If you see that you're spending too much time carpooling your kids or taking your kids to and from school, maybe you should join a carpool. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to streamline your time. Maybe you listen to your audiobooks in the car if you have a long commute, or practice your Toastmaster speech in the car. I do that and look like a crazy person in traffic. But this should be liberating. This should be liberating, and it should be an honest look at how you spend your time. And once you've done it, I want to encourage you to decide with 100% of everything inside of you how you're going to use that time. And once you've decided, I want you not to apologize for it, whether it's money related or not, charity related or not, whatever it is that you want to achieve, don't apologize for it, and you run towards that goal like your life depended on it. I want to share a story with you. My father is from a tiny town called Ponchatoula, Louisiana, and his family was so poor that the coffee table in his home was literally 2 crates pushed together. And my dad used to go around the neighborhood when he was a little boy, asking neighbors if he could clean out their garage or their attic, because he was desperately hoping he might find a set of books or an old transistor radio he could fix up, because his parents couldn't buy him anything. Or in his words, my parents didn't give me shit. His words, not mine. And he loves to tell this story about the time he was cleaning out a neighbor's attic, and he came across this very dusty but full set of Collier's encyclopedias. Now, he was about 10 years old when he found them, so this was about 1960. And the encyclopedias were published in 1919. Wow. So even though they were very outdated, he was ecstatic. And he read them from cover to cover. He literally devoured the information, because he knew, despite the low circumstances that he was from, that he was destined for greatness, and he knew the way to get there was through education and knowledge. He was desperate to pull himself out of the pattern of poverty, alcoholism, and dysfunction that was all around him. And he did. He finished college in less than 3 years. He got a full scholarship to LSU Medical School, and he became a surgeon. And because he did that, he made a more comfortable life for my family and I. No apologies. No excuses. The other day I was talking to a lady. We were in a group at a happy hour. There was about 6 or 7 of us. And this lady happened to be a school teacher, which is a very noble profession, by the way. But during the conversation, she started complaining about how school teachers don't make any money, which was not a surprise to me, but apparently it was a surprise to her, even after 30 years of doing it. Later on in the conversation, I think she was trying to get to know me, and so she was asking me about my career as an attorney. And I basically said, some days it's tedious, it's very demanding, but most of the time it's fulfilling, and I'm very blessed to have a booming practice. And I have this big goal of doubling my revenue in the next 1.5 years, and then doubling that again in the next 5 years. And I wasn't going to share this, but she pressed me, and she wanted to know what the exact figures were. So I told her, I'm not ashamed of what my goals are. And when I was finished talking, she replied by saying, Why in the world would anyone ever need that much money? Talk about a privileged white girl comment. For the first time in my life, I think I was speechless. And I was in a group setting, and I didn't want to make a big deal out of it, and I really didn't know what to say anyway, so we just changed the subject. But the next day, I couldn't get it out of my head. And I was like, what in the world did she even mean by that? By the way, this lady has whitish skin too, I guess. And I was thinking, first of all, without getting to the specifics of my ethnicity, there's at least a quarter of me that is definitely not white, so I don't even know what that meant or what she was trying to project on me. And at first I was a little angry, and then I was a little, not angry, but maybe a little offended. And then I just felt really bad for her. Like I wasn't angry or offended at all. I just felt bad for her that she had such a narrow mindset and apparently had so much negative self-talk and was so disappointed in the choices she had made and couldn't see that maybe you could use an education in teaching others outside of the school system and apparently what you think is a small salary. She just couldn't think outside the box. And then she just dumped all that garbage and negativity on me and tried to take me down with this privileged white girl comment. And then I started thinking about what does it mean to be privileged? And I thought, you know what? Damn straight I'm privileged. I'm privileged to be alive. I'm privileged to be healthy. I'm privileged to live in America at this point in time. I'm privileged that God made me smart. I'm privileged that he gave me talents and abilities to help others solve their problems and get paid for it. I'm privileged that my father pulled himself out of that terrible poverty he was born into. And you know what? Every person in this room is just as privileged. I don't care what color you are. I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. I don't care where you came from. I don't care if your parents were rich or poor, or even if you didn't know your parents. You are all privileged. And you should take advantage of it every single hour of every single day. Thomas Edison said, if we did even half of what we're capable of, we would astound ourselves. And back to Mark Twain, he said, in 20 years, you're not going to be disappointed in the things you did do. You're going to be disappointed about the things you didn't do. My fellow Toastmasters, time is precious. It waits for no one. Go out and live a beautiful life that you are proud of. Live a life that astounds you.